Okay, g'day folks. So we're just going to do a quick video. I've been getting a few questions on what licenses are required and what can you do with each license. And so we'll have a quick talk about what each license is involved. And we will also have a quick little chat about pathways into the crane and rigging industry, which can be a little daunting at times. Okay, so we'll start off with our licenses. So we always start with your dogging license because that's the bare minimum requirement. With a dogging license, what that then allows you to do, that's going to allow you to calculate the weights of loads. You will then inspect and select your lifting equipment. Once you've got your lifting equipment, you can sling the loads. You can communicate with the crane operator, and then you can direct the crane. Okay, when we're directing the crane, we learn all our whistle signals, hand signals, two-way radio calls, etc. Alright, so that's your bare minimum to get in. From there, once you've got your dogging, you can work your way up to your basic rigging. So what's involved in the basic rigging is that's when you start putting things together. So you can do things such as erect and dismantle structural steel, you can place concrete beams and panels, you can set up static lines, set up safety nets, install CCLPs, erect materials hoists, all those sorts of things where you just start building things together. Well, once you've done some basic rigging, you can move your way up the line. So next in line we're going to have our intermediate rigging. Okay, so intermediate rigging is a little more in depth, so that's when we start using equalising gear to do things such as tilt panels. Okay, we can rig for cranes, excavators and conveyors. Okay, we will also do dual lifts and we can do demolition work. Alright, so there's a little bit more involved. So I always advise spend a little bit of time doing basic rigging before you move up into the intermediate rigging. Okay, now from there we go on to advanced rigging. Now advanced rigging isn't typically required in most construction. Okay, it's more of a specialised field where you might use it in the entertainment industry, or if you're working in circuses offshore they may use it a fair bit. So when we're talking advanced rigging, we're talking about doing things like setting up span lines, doing drop deck scaffolding and all that sort of equipment, setting up gin poles, etc. Alright, so it's not a big requirement in the construction industry, although you do see a lot of jobs may advertise for advanced riggers. Sometimes it's just a mix up with HR departments. They're confusing advanced riggers with experienced riggers. Just holding the ticket doesn't necessarily make you experienced. Okay, you get experience with time. Okay, so that's a quick basic rundown of all of your licenses for rigging. Now keep in mind, as well as your dogging, okay, you've got to have a white card if you're working in any form of construction. So the white card's a requirement. Now, as a rigger, you're pretty useless as a rigger without some sort of boom lift ticket. So typically a boom lift above 11 metres would be a pretty critical requirement, especially when you're doing basic rigging and you're doing steel work and that kind of stuff. Alright, so that's just a quick down of what licenses are required. Okay, now when we're talking about pathways into it, now the ideal way, if you're lucky enough, it's not quite as easy, is if you could get a job with a general hire company. You'll find they're going to have the biggest variety and you'll learn the most generally out of a general crane hire company. Now the problem is getting into these companies. They are a little harder to get into, but if you're going to sit around and wait for them to advertise for a job, particularly in major cities, you'll be waiting a long time. Most of these companies will have a stack of resumes sitting on their desks already. The best way you can approach them is go to their door with a resume and look like you're interested. Alright, so that's your general hire. That's the way I typically got into the industry. I did do a little bit for a little engineering company first, but getting into a crane company is the ideal way because you will learn the most doing that. Okay, things have changed since I started. Okay, a lot of people do start in the industry now through labour hire companies, so they may go as a labour hire company. Now, if you're going down that route, whenever you're on the jobs, familiarise yourself with the crane crew, get to know them, show them that you're actually interested and that you do put in a bit of effort. Okay, that's another option is your labour hire companies. A lot of people, even though they have the tickets, they'll also get a job starting just as a TA on site. Maybe they might work as an electrical spotter, they may be in traffic management. It's just getting that foot in the door on construction. Once they're there, then they'll once again familiarise yourself with the crane drives, have a talk to them, right, and try and get in through that way. Okay, a lot of projects they'll hire doggies and riggers, but they may hire TAs, and you can work your way up there as well. Now, another option is mining. Now, what I've found through a lot of people that come through my class, etc., they say it's really hard to get into mining. Now, I've spent a lot of time in mining, and one thing you will find is the biggest problem most people find is they're going directly to the mining company. So they're approaching your BHPs, your Rio Tintos, your Anglo, FMG, all this sort of stuff, your BMAs. Okay, now these companies don't typically hire the labour workforce, so they're generally contracted out. So your best bet is to find out what contractors working in that area and then try approaching through them. So whether it be Goodline, your RCR, your Frio Cranes, your Boom Logistics, whatever company are working in that area in the mines, I try approaching them because they could be on the lookout for people. Okay, I've seen a lot, for instance, a lot advertised lately for Norwest Crane Hire, so they might be another opportunity too. But don't go looking at the mining companies directly. Try and find out what labour hire companies are working out there, or what crane companies are working on site, and just try approaching them directly. You're going to have a much better chance. Okay, I'm sure there's plenty of other avenues out there, but all I can say is keep at it, and sooner or later, with enough persistence, you'll get there. All right, so hope that sort of helps a little bit. So thanks for your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share it with your friends as well if you want to keep updated. Okay, thank you.